Okay, just for starters, I want to welcome everybody to our first talk of the 2013 season. This is Sandra Saldana.
Oh my God, Saldana.
I am terrible with pronouncing names.
I can't call your Dr. David.
So anyway, also you notice that this isn't we eat with this talk. That is because this is sponsored by IRIS, and they have a program for students doing summer internships and also a few other things that I guess you can go into detail on. But the idea here is that I invited her because even though we've been doing this series for about 10 years now, we haven't focused enough on different careers in physics. And since our undergraduate program's new, I wanted to give everybody a chance to see what it is physicists do, have the undergraduates get a chance to see what are the career options are going to be available for you when you graduate. Because unlike other majors, physics is not clear-cut. You know, people who are, say, computer engineers, if they graduate with their degree, then they just get a job doing computer engineering. They can just look for an ad that says computer engineering, and then that's what they get. With physicists, it's not as clean cut. There are very few jobs that actually say we're hiring physicists, especially at the bachelor's level. And so you have to work a lot harder in order to distinguish what's going to be a good job for you or not. Physicists are hired based on their skills, not based on what their degree says. And the nice thing about this is that the result is that even though there's so-called no jobs for physicists, we've got one of the lowest unemployment rates of any major out there, about 2% even during a recession. So Sandra's going to talk a little bit about one aspect of a job you can do with a physics degree, doing sort of geophysics. And after that, you know, there'll be time for questions, and again, there'll be some more sandwiches. So with that, I'll turn it over to our speaker for today.
Okay, so, hey, let me just, when I sit down and I'm leveling with you, I do that in the class, how I got the class. Here's what iris matters to me. Now, I'm going to explain to you, make sure you get my pen box, please. I'm going to explain to you first why iris matters to me, why I'm here today. I am the only girl out of 2 older brothers and 10 male cousins. You can't tell me looking at me, but I'm Hispanic. Usually I bring my aunt with me to prove that I'm Hispanic. I can speak Spanish very badly, and you probably won't understand it. You did if you are a Spanish speaker. Iris matters to me because I'm the first in my family ever to get a bachelor's degree, let alone a master's. My dad did not graduate high school. He worked 7 days a week the whole time I grew up, worked the pads of his feet out by the time he was 55. My mom graduated high school but has never worked, so we've always had a single income. So my parents were raising 3 kids on, you know, $30,000 a year in the 80s or less. Iris matters to me because I was working so hard to go to school and pay for school in the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. It's a whole other story we're not to talk about. And Iris gave me an opportunity to do this summer internship. During that summer internship, I went to work for Reesa, who was the first African-American chief geophysicist for the United States Geological Survey. And he taught me so much about, not just about my science, but I learned so much about who I am and how to navigate. You know, I had a lot of smarts as to how to survive and how to make it in my own culture, but the professional culture is a little bit different. And because I was a non-traditional student, I didn't graduate my bachelor's until I was in my mid-30s. And I'm really happy to hear that this is a non-traditional school. These are my people right here. If this goes well, since I live in Houston, maybe we can develop some kind of interaction. I'd love to come back. But I'm not sure that you're going to get sandwiches all the time. Depends on what I can afford. But me being able to have this job has made it possible for me to take care of my mom and dad now. So now, here my dad slog his guts out for all these years. Now he's able to retire, and I'm able to watch out for them. So it's been a way for me to take care of my family. So today I'm going to give you this talk about, have you ever considered being an exploration seismologist? This is about literally 10% of what I do at work. I'm glad I have an hour because then we can have an interchange of what I actually do at work and why it's important and actually key to the university. Okay, and why it's so good that you are learning the first principles in the fundamentals. I'm not really I'm not very good at being proper, I guess is the right word. I don't. You might look at me and think, how the heck do you make it in corporate America? It's because I have a degree in physics and I need my skill. So let me start this slideshow, and I'll give this talk, and then I'm going to show you some slides about IRIS and how to apply for the summer internship. And but during this talk, please ask me questions. You can raise your hand. You don't have to wait till afterwards, okay? So this is a offshore rig. Actually, this is the Mary B in offshore Israel, the Eastern Mediterranean. It wasn't it wasn't long, there we go, after this picture was taken that we discovered, the Noble Energy discovered the biggest gas line in a decade and helped Israel to be independent. That find was based on first principles. It was based on what I'm going to show you today. So, to give you an outline of my talk, first we're going to talk about why do hydrocarbons matter. I know that's kind of a no-brainer, but we'll talk about it. Let's set up the scientific problem. And then we'll talk about what exploration seismology is, why solve the problem, why do we care, and then we'll do a summary. Okay. So hydrocarbons matter. Am I talking too fast? Everybody good? Hydrocarbons matter because you'll notice that crude oil, this is as of 2009. So I haven't updated this because I've got like 5 wells going in the Gulf right now, so sorry. This is what we produce as far as crude oil proportionally, and then but look at our consumption. Most of what we consume is petroleum, but it's like our third producer. And most of that is going into gasoline for people's cars. So our the energy industry drives so much of the economic growth in the United States. So that's why hydrocarbons matter. Is there a growth driver, an economic driver for the United States and the world? So here's the scientific problem. Now, the real big takeaway from this slide, and you really have to take note of this, is the shark. Because it took me to figure out how to draw that thing. And then I realized that they had it in clip. And I wanted to just like, then there's like the coolest fish, and progressively they'll get close to the sharks. And so, anyways, if you don't like what I'm saying, you can just watch the fish. So this is a typical petroleum system. This is like a cross-section of the Earth. So here's this blue is water. I know that's a hard thing to understand, like water. This is the water bottom, and then this is what we call the overburden. So it's important that our overburden in industry is different than what academia calls overburden. Anything that doesn't have anything to do with hydrocarbons, it's just overburden. Totally like the crap. But there's really lots of important information in the overburden, but that's just how we look at it. It's the simple problem. In physics, you write the circle, it's the theoretical cow, or the circular cow. Circular cow. And my school was a circular elephant. I think the guy was just old and progressively evolved into a cow. So you have sandstone that has pore space, that's called a reservoir, or something. It may be limestone, but it's some kind of reservoir. Something with pores. You have a source rock, and you can have carbonate or some kind of granitic basin. So carbonate is like limestone. And source rock is like, the bottom of the lake is like shale or slate. Basement granitic rock is granite. Okay, so this is a cross section, and notice where the hydrocarbons collect, it's generated here at the source, and then it percolates up, buoyancy, percolates up and gets trapped up against this dark thing that's here, which is meant to, is a cartoon for a seal. So you have, and then sometimes the liquids get trapped between these or faults. So when the earth is slipping, it's called refraction. Okay. So, seismology, what is seismology? Basically, seismology is like almost like a CAT scan of the earth. It's a cross-section of the earth you can sound with. So this is what we have. Like, we could go through and like drill a bunch of holes, but this actually gives us a cross-section because, drilling holes is $1 million a day in the Gulf of Mexico. And one of these surveys is about $1 million a day for 30 days and about $30 million. One of these, this cross-section probably costs $1 million. So it's cheaper. So each one of these reflectors is an acoustic impedance boundary. It's how the Earth, the sound wave energy is bending. We're gonna get into it. But you start with this, and then you end up with this. This is how, like, if you were to go get a sonogram or something like that, this is how that we're interpreting the data. So these are lithologic boundaries between, for instance, sand and shale, and these here would be faults. So it's really cool. As the sand, there's like this big dump called the turbidite. So the sand is like sloughing off the side of the, there you go, thanks, into the ocean. I totally have Gulf of Mexico boreholes in my head right now because I was doing this real important pressure prediction. And there's air in the sheets, and I just found out as I was writing here, so my brain is totally chewing on the problems. Can you see my problems? I'm going to wake up tonight at 3 o'clock in the morning with the answer. This is why I can't remember words like continent. So anyway, as this stuff comes off the continent, it like ripples and it gets all these plumb faults in them. One side is traveling faster than the other, and it comes back up. Can you imagine that? Am I describing it as well? Okay. Okay, then it kind of gets compacted and cemented there. So, anyway, we start with this, we end up with this. So how do we get there? Okay, so bear with me, this talk is for all, it's like a generic talk, so you're going to want to poke your eyes out, so just bear with me. So we're talking about ray theory. I had to introduce what a ray is because sometimes I give this talk to like people that don't know. They think I'm shooting arrows into the ground when I show them a display, so I have to explain what a ray is. So here's the pebble in the pond, and these are wavefronts, and these are rays. Okay, we all know this. We do all know this, right? Okay. So in the ocean, I don't know, has anybody been to the Natural Science Museum? Have you guys seen the big air gun? There's a big air, okay. There's this, I'll show you later, I'm going to show you movies. They shoot these, they shoot air at the ocean floor, like a bubble of air in the ocean floor, and that acts as a source. Progressively, the wavefronts travel down to the earth and they bounce back up. We simplify the math with the ray. Can I just skip this part? This is Snell's law. Everybody, okay. Yeah. In fact, I used to have an error in this slide. I'm glad I fixed it. Okay, so this is how we acquire the seismic data. So obviously this is a bow, and these are the air guns. That's the acoustic source of this generating the sound energy. Then you have these long streamers with, they're called streamers, and they have a bunch of little, almost like accelerometers in them to pick up the vibration. And they're in these long strings. And if these are paravanes, and they just pull the strings out this way to keep them from tangling against each other. This whole thing is like, can be up to 7 to 10 kilometers. Like, it's really long. And I just say like, I'm so unimpressed. This way is about a column. Okay, and then, so here's an actual picture. So here's the boat. I don't know why I even do that, because like, who doesn't know that's a boat? These are the air vents, see the bubbles coming up underneath? And then these are the streamers. Now the streamers, can anybody tell me? This is supposed to be a hard question, you're totally going to shoot me down on this one. Okay, brace yourself in this talk. Can you tell me why the streamers are not on the ocean or like that? Or why can't you see the streamers? Why are they like they're on the ocean?
I was going to say because there's both moving to some degree, so it's tension kind of drag force.
Right, and I've got a little accelerometer in there, and what it is it's like an accelerometer, it's called like a hydrophone.
Yeah.
And all it is, it's really complicated. It's a magnet with wire around it, and it's attached to a spring. So a hook block basically, moves back and forth and generates a signal. So you don't want to be on the wave, because that's not a good thing. You want the signal down below where the wave is. So that's why you can't see them. Anyway, the paravane pulls it apart, and then the boat, you type in how you want the survey to go, and the boat just like moves along. Okay? Just like that. And what's so funny about this is they don't know if they have good data, so they're mowing the lawn, right? And then while they're making a turn is when they look at the data. Can you imagine the asset replay checking the data? Oh my God, it's like they're already turning and they're going to collect the next set, and the guy back here has to decide whether, they're already going to go that way. He has to decide whether the data was good or not. I don't want to be that guy. And they always have a little safety ship. One of my friends who was working in Russia, the guy was like, named one of their ships after her. It was really bizarre. Anyway, they have little safety ships. Oh, imagine if you're a fisherman, okay? And you're just like, fishing in your canoe, because you're fishing and you fish. And, I'm just not. This will be one of these little boats comes up some, because what happens is the fishermen don't want to leave. And then he doesn't see the streamers that are right below the surface. And here comes the streamers, right? And he could be way back there and coming across this way. So there's a whole bunch of these little boats to get people out of the way, because if those streamers get tangled up, it's everybody on deck to clean out the knots. It's really bad. So anyway, this is a paravane, that pulls it apart. Those are people. Is that cool? Oh, box. I've been on one of these boats. It's really awesome. I just like this picture. This is the lines going out to let the streamers out, and then this is one of the floats that holds up the streamer so they can find it again. And okay, so this is one of the air guns. So the little air gun and big air gun. So big bubble, little bubble. And you have to time them just right so they pop at just the right time. They all pop together. Because if they pop at different times, then you've got one at a different time than another, and they constructively interfere and you know. So these have to be timed just right. These are the air guns. This is called the umbilical. This is what goes back to the ship. This is a GPS receiver, and then this is the float. The GPS receiver is like this. So can you imagine how big that whole float is?
Sandra, can you do steering of the sound signal by popping the air gun to a coordinated method that tends to go one direction or the other?
Oh, no.
Or do they have to be simultaneous?
Oh, they're big. The industry's been testing that, actually. And what I think, I'm not sure, I'd have to research it. I think what they found is simultaneous gives them the highest frequency, the best frequency. Because a delta function, like just a spike?
I remember looking at it, yes.
Yeah, it contains all frequencies.
Yeah.
Right? So they want to get as close to a spike. And so but really the best they can do is a Gaussian distribution, but they're trying to narrow that Gaussian as much as they can. So I think what they found was they were trying that, and you can get different frequencies. The Earth is a filter. So you put in, you can only get out what you put in. You save time and money by putting in, like matching the Earth filter, and only putting in the frequency that the Earth will filter anyway. Problem is that if you've never explored in that area before, you don't know what the frequency is. So it's kind of like, you know how velocity equals frequency times wavelength? Well, it's that wavelength that's really hard to nail down because the frequency of that the Earth gives back to you because of the filter changes because the lithology in the Earth changes. So it's like such an unconstrained problem that I think they just went back to shooting them all at the same time. This is a streamer cable, and I just like this because this looks like blood. This is one of those umbilicals. There's two kinds of streamers. There's one that has gel inside of it. Now I don't normally ask this question, but like you're my teacher, you probably know. Why would you put gel into a cable with a hydrophone? Now remember, it's a magnet on a spring surrounded by wire, making the signal insulation. You're insulating the sound, so you want to couple it. Couple it is the right word? I don't know. You want to insulate it from noise, basically. So some of them have gel, and then the sharks, they like the EM, and they want to see because you've got wire and magnetic, and you're making a field, that's the word, magnetic field outside the cable. They want to test it, so they'll take a bite out of it. So here's me. I'm getting on the ship for the first time. Big ships, right? And they make you wear this green hat that might as well have a sign on it that says done. Because everyone else has white hats, and you have to wear a green hat that says, this is my first time on my ship. Hi, I'm on the world. So anyway, I'm wearing my green hat. I'm walking to the ship, and there's holes in the wall. And like from one end of the ship to the other, I can see so I look at everyone else is like following the tour, and I'm like looking back and looking at the hole. There's this hole that's all the way to the ship. And I was like, okay, dude, why is there a hole all the way to the ship? It's because these things come in a huge reel. And when a shark does this, they just put one end through one hole in the ship, and the other hole right in the middle is the bay where they repair them. And they repair them and reel them out. Anyway. Oh, now we're gonna watch a movie, and I'm really sorry because the graphics the music is like so typical for industry. It's so like the God is singing. But so I'm just gonna apologize now. So anyway, here's the first of the ship, and then here's the gun. These guys work 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off. They have to get off and on the ship by. So here's the basement coming down to the floor. Getting different kinds of pathology, sand and shale, and different kinds of rock. It's the acoustic speed boundary, difference between velocity boundaries back up, is picked up by the hydrophone. I'll tell you, don't use the hot birds here. The signals start going back to the very nerdy. My time is off. There we go. There's the very nerdy scientist. And they're probably talking about theory for lunch. Oh, come on now. It's right on this guy's nose. Hey, where's his nose hair and his mustache? So they. Wow, this has never happened to me on like some of our training. So then they're talking to I'm just going to say, I don't know what he's doing, but they're making sure they're getting good quality. So as you're pulling, it's feathering out with the line, make sure it's covering all areas. Yeah, you can have by helicopter to see the lines and stuff. About 10 kilometers. Here, the gun's going out. That's the big on the umbilical. was out there. Half the cover was out there. There's a paraffin. So when it pulls it out, this is a special name. Oh, and there's people on deck. There's two oceanographers at all times, biologists, looking for wells all the time. They're making sure that they're being good frequency. They have very good food on the ship, they have their own kitchen. I know it's hard to do. This guy is out there looking for fisherman stuff. This is a birdie. They're what's called the streamer. It goes this way, and it goes this way. Keep these streamers on. They're called pumpkins. And there's hundreds of them. So put it out. This is a gel filled streamer. It's pretty sharp blade. Now, when you're trying to, they often will have more than one ship out covering an area. These are the guns firing. And now they're putting everything back. And they fire data 24 hours a day. And these crews will include, and they're all over the world, right? So the crews are people all over the world, all over international. And once the survey is plugged into the computer, the computer drives it. Now the person is working away. Notice every once in a while we're thinking here on. That's like a kilometer across. Amazing. And there's that time Wikipedia. They're one that acquires the seismic data. So they're one of the people. There's one of the companies that owns all the boats that can go out and acquire. They mostly acquire in like Israel and Africa and not Gulf of Mexico area. So here's a theoretical wave path. There's the fish. That's very important. So this is in meters per second. So this is the velocity of water is about 1,520 meters per second. Velocity scan. And I actually did these angles in Adobe Illustrator myself and made sure that they were just right. Calculated no wrong. So if you have an incidence angle at 20 degrees, this is a theoretical ray path with a law of reflection here. The refraction coming out the other side. So if you've done like, they call it a spec survey, so sometimes like PGS will go out and collect a bunch of data just to get people interested. And they'll say, if you want to know more about this area, we'll go and collect more extended data in this area. You have to pay it for it. And that costs a lot of money. Well, not as much as drilling wells. It costs a lot of money. And so you use the spec data to try to understand your velocity structure so you can design your survey. Anybody have any questions? Okay.
How does the temperature profile under the water influence your results?
Tell you what. Funny thing about it. There's this professor out there. No, there's this. He's like working ministry and academia. Working is just like, anyway, he has all this seismic data. And he just turned up the gain, like turned up the amplitude, like turned up the volume. That's what it is. And just the water column, and you can actually see where the temperature is affecting the salinity of the water column. So, but it does, for our purposes, the change in the salt in the water column due to temperature, it's so still around 1520. It's so like small in comparison to these, to the 2,500 to 3,000, that we don't pay attention to it, and it doesn't affect our results as much. What I'm personally doing as I'm predicting pore pressure is it does not. So I might use a different like water gradient, like different density gradient in one part of the Gulf of Mexico than another because of temperature. Because it affects the, which affects density, which affects local burden, which affects temperature. So I put that in my, see, this is another example of first principles. I put that in my pressure predictions, and it could make a difference. So the mud that they put down the hole is in a unit of pounds per. It's lame. It's not SI. It drives me crazy. I know, right? That was my reaction. What? People are crazy. And then they wanted me to estimate pounds per gallon per meter. And I was like, all right. So anyway, they're estimated pounds per gallon, and I have to be within half a pound per gallon accuracy. And I can get 0.1 pound per gallon improvement in my error just by accounting for differences in salinity in the water.
This Saldana, before you go on. So at each one of these interfaces, though, does all of your weightage get reflected to the next section, or doesn't some of it bounce around?
You are still in my thunder, sister.
Oh,
No, and I'm really excited about that because that's a perfect example right there.
Well,
go ahead.
And like which layer?
Well, let's work through the problem. Let's think about it. So okay, so you know when you study first year physics, and they always say, what's the velocity, okay, so I have a falling object, and it's like 1/2 GP, whatever, and they say neglect air resistance. Why do they say neglect air resistance? Makes it simpler. But is that actually what's happening in the real world? No, because otherwise you wouldn't have Tremolo Block, really. So, wow, I'm in this environment and I'm listening to myself and I'm like, wow, I haven't used the word about Tremolo Block in years. Going on, and that's the last show that we know. Anyway, so what would actually happen in the Earth? Like I'm going to put a bunch of energy in. What do you think? Like if I put a source here and have a bunch of sensors down here, down going this way, the sensor right down there is going to have the same energy as the one here? No. So as it's going down, it's getting weaker. So you're not going to get the same amplitude or the same strength in the signal as you put in by no means. And when we get to salt, I'll show you how off we'll get. And what was the other question? Wait, there's another one.
Oh, it's just like wondering which interface or which layer gives you the most loss.
Think about it.
The one that's the most dense.
The most that has the biggest difference is that thing. So, like this difference between 1,500 and 2,500, if they're on top of each other, is huge. Because it's like, if I bang a hammer really hard, I hear it really, it sounds like, right? So I hear it really, it's really loud. But it dissipates and bounces off the walls. Like if I hit a hammer on the wall really hard, the energy is gonna dissipate. But if I'm out in the prairie, obviously digital, and I hit a hammer, I'm not gonna feel the pressure in my ears is that, right? So it's kind of the same way. If I've got a barrier or a density difference close, in the proximity, that's how I'm going to lose the most energy. And you'll see that when we get to salt. You had a question.
Your earlier picture of the actual seismograph, it looks pretty even between the top and the bottom. Does your software compensate?
Yes. It does. It's called trace balancing. And you have to be really careful with it because first principle is we're violating an assumption. The Earth doesn't want to do that. So when you amplify, you take the weak stuff and amplify it to equalize it, well, you're also amplifying the noise. So you have to know your assumptions. So this is I'd like to say ghetto, but that is so not the right thing to say. Now you know why I'm not teaching anymore. I'm not kidding. And I'm not representing noble energy. This is my little made-up model, and so here's the boat. That's the wall draw. That's why I'm pausing. I'm having a limited time with the boat. with a really long streamer that's off the screen. I think it's 6 kilometers. I made it. Yeah, 6 kilometers. And I put the parameters here, and then the different velocities, and then I run it through a ray tracing program. See how these velocities are pretty similar? This is how it's supposed to go, is that you shoot here, and then all my rays, theoretically, in a perfect world, all my ray energy comes back. Or most of my ray energy comes back. So that's how it's supposed to. But before I tell you how it actually works, let me tell you why salt matters. Now we're going to introduce the salt problem. So now we're like adding another circle to the circle cow. Well, salt is special because it has very low porosity, which means that as the hydrocarbons are percolating up, it gets back up against the salt. The problem with salt is when you try to do seismic, it diffracts the energy, you know, like the slit experiment, and it scatters the energy because it's crystal, so it scatters and diffracts it. So here's my fish and here's my shark, and here's the water bottom and the overburden. Here's the salt, which is a great seal. Here's my hydrocarbons. Here's the it's reservoir, because it says right there. Right? Here's the sand. And here's my same model, basically. So the hydrocarbons trap against the salt. So what happens if I plug in real velocities and I ray trace it? So what we're going to find is there's focusing, shadow zones, and multiple. Those are the 3 main problems with salt. And so I made this model. I'm running out of time, and I want you to be able to see the iris stuff, which is why I'm here, so I'm going to kind of go through this. Are you guys good with that? Okay. So in a perfect world where the velocities are similar, these velocities are similar, I would get all my ray energy back. But with salt, look how much energy I'm getting back. Isn't that sad? That is just because I have like this much energy that I'm actually getting from the salt. Because of the velocity contrast between salt, it's like all getting dispersed and work. And it's being refracted away. This means refracted, apparently. Okay. So as I bring my bow closer, so I'm trying to find the bottom of this reservoir. I'll see the top pretty easily. I want to see the bottom of the reservoir. It's not a well. I just noticed that like here. Anyway, here's the bottom of my reservoir. So as I bring the bow across, I'm not getting, none of the rays are reaching the boat. None of the rays are reaching the boat. Some of the rays are reaching the boat, but there's this big gap right here. It's called that's where the shadow zone comes in. It's called, they make this fancy, they do this fancy stuff in the industry where they want to do good work. It's a lack of illumination. It's just a shadow zone, there's no rays in the ray entry. Same shadow zone as I'm moving across. So then I'm going to have weak signal here and weak signal here. I'm really not going to be able to resolve the bottom of that reservoir. And then see how these rays are coming back to the surface and they're kind of gathering in one place. Funny thing about industry is that you know how you have refraction and expanding and then coming down, expanding and then going down and coming back up. So it's like it has kinks in it. Well, industry does this thing where they just assume it's straight. They leave out the bend. And so, like, that assumption works if if you're trying to calculate this way, but if you miss it, if it's this way. So then in their computer software, they didn't want to code up the Snell's law part because that complicates the problem. So they just made it straight way and didn't put in the refraction. So they put the interface in the wrong place in space. That's the problem. And then, so the blue is the signal I want, and the red, no, wait. The blue is the salt, and the red is what I want. So the salt is like swamping signals. And multiple. So, you know, my advisor I was going to ask you to change it. This is what a multiple is. So it's like incorporated inside, bouncing into the twin community. And so this is a multiple, this is a peg leg multiple. This is an actual reflection right here. Then this is the one time multiple. This is a water bottom multiple. It's very common. It just keeps going to get on. This is a peg leg, and how you can see it on. See how you have this really strong, dark reflector right here? And then you see this looks very similar to it. So it's like repeating itself. It's going in. So anyway, there's focus. This is focusing where it's like really dark. The rays are bending that direction on that salt. And then this is the shadow zones in here where it's kind of weak. You can't kind of tell. See, this is sediment. This is sand and shale. And then this. If we believe this picture, this is what this picture is saying. That magically there's nothing underneath the salt water. Conservation of math, why it has to be. So these layers probably continue when they're here, but we can't see them through the shell because of the salt column. So it matters because we can't drill. He ate them. I put this talk together when I was like a baby in industry, like a year in industry, or 6 months in industry, and I put a land rig into the motion. That screams rookie. Anyway, these are $1 million a day. Let's not even talk about Macondo. I was working in the Gulf of Mexico when Macondo happened. You can ask me about that if you want, and I will not give you corporate answers. Change in pressures means you have to have your casing strength. So if I have a high pressure here, that the casing string here, so they drill a hole, and then they have a metal casing that goes down, and then they have to pump the cement down and back all the way up the side of the hole. So that cement and that steel has to be able to hold back the pore pressure. And you have to understand the system to be able to know how long to make this casing string. If you're drilling Gulf of Mexico, it's not such a big deal because they have these shipping yards full of casing strings. But what if they're like Africa? And you have to have it all brought in from the drill. $1 million a day, not to mention people's lives. 11 people died on Macondo. I get a stomachache every time I predict pore pressure. I'm not saying that because I'm paid to, because actually not paying me to. Because I was a teacher and a social worker at one point in my life, and these people are real. So, I'm really thinking about that. Well, the problem is I can't plan as well if I can't see it, right? All right, so here's the point. Salt is a complication of seismic imaging because the shadow zone is focusing on multiples. This is your slide that you want to put on your summary to get a grade. To design well. Okay. Do you mind if I switch over to Iris now?
Yeah.
Okay. So Iris, this person actually works at my company. I hate when he puts it on timers. Iris is an 11-week program. I was teaching this class. I teach part of this acquisition class, seismic acquisition. It's where you spend 11 weeks at a graduate level university doing almost graduate level work, and you get exposure to geophysics. And it's earthquake seismology, magnetics, all kinds of geophysics. It's very fun. Of the 8 people in IRIS that have gone into industry, 3 work at Noble Energy. Okay, so you conduct investigations with leading research institutions. IRIS sends them money to do research, so they really like you. You get lots of experience. You do work with, okay, let's just say state-of-the-art is an industry, but the academic version of state-of-the-art. You really are engaged in the design of scientific experiments And you actually get sent to San Francisco in December to present a poster. You're a published author by the time, so you spend a summer, you make a poster, you're a published author by December. That was a big deal for me. I was actually teaching this class here. We were putting out geophones, the land version of what I talked about tonight. These are some of the displays that they generate. You'll go to a week-long course. Oh, this guy was in Alaska. He got sent to Alaska. Somebody last year got sent to Puerto Rico. You generate these displays. You'll take a week-long, teach you how to run the software. With your first principles, you'll get to, apply your first principles and already know the software and then get the job done in 11 weeks. These are people presenting at the AGU conference. At around 4 o'clock, they serve beer because geoscientists love beer. And it's free beer. These are some published authors presenting their posters. You get paid a stipend of $550 a week for 9 to 11 weeks. They take off all your funding for travel for the orientation week to get to your research institution. You have to pay for your housing at the research institution, and then they pay for you to go present your results in San Francisco. Here's the minimum qualification. You have to have at least a freshman, completed your freshman year but not graduating by 20. I know, 14. They haven't sent me a new slide deck. Crazy Irish people. You have to have at least a 3.0 GPA. Here's what hangs up this is what hangs up a lot of people applying. They don't have 2 semesters of math and physics. So this gives you a huge head start. You don't have to know anything about geology, seismology, or geophysics. If you can use MATLAB or C++, that's great, but that's not required. We'll teach you what you need to know during orientation. So, yeah, this is kind of hokey, shake up your summer. That's kind of lame. Anyway, the deadline is usually February 1st, but for you guys, they're going to extend it. You get a special extension. You can write down this website. They were supposed to send flyers, but they didn't. Did they send, like, little postcards?
They didn't.
Okay. So if you want to apply, please apply. This is part of how I can come here is because I'm useful. If nobody applies, then it's like saying I'm not useful. If you could please, even if you don't meet all these qualifications, we're particularly looking for minorities, including women. But everyone is, please apply. And then there's also this program, it's called Reesa. You can tell I want some chocolate, I'm saying Reesa. It's called Reesa. It's a 10-week program, and the qualifications are a little bit lower. But the difference between the programs is this program, it's like a 3-year summer program, and you get help in the beginning of the graduate school, and it's not just geophysics, it's a bunch of other disciplines. They help you with your GRE, and this is the website, unavco.org. Okay? But what I will tell you as an person in the industry, who I actively look for Irish students who say, hey, I actually get them interviews in my company ahead of a little school. So it's a little bit harder to get into Iris, but it's totally worth it. This is some of the kind of stuff you'll be doing. Don't apply if you hate the outdoors. And these guys, it's so funny to see these pictures because I know these guys grown up now, and a lot of them are graduate school. Really was a game changer for me. Going to the Irish internship was a total game changer for me. I don't think I would have gotten my master's if I hadn't gone to Ireland. I would have run out. It was very inspirational, and that's why I volunteer my time for Iris now. In fact, I don't know, actually know if the person is but it matters to me that much. And it matters to me that you guys are not, this is a non-community. And it matters to me that you're working with hard. Let's make it count. Let's make the connections and make it count. So, I mean, you have a friend in the industry now. I have business cards here. So if you if you want to call and talk to me privately, or you want any kind of help with, trying to figure out what to do with your skill set, just let me know, and I'm happy to talk anytime. I usually stay in touch with this. I teach at the seismic orientation that's in May, the seismic iris orientation in May. And I keep in touch with those students. I still have them calling me and asking me about where to go to graduate school and stuff like that. So this really matters to me. I'm not one of those people that shows up and then is going to disappear and never be around again. If you want to find me, you can. Okay, and that's basically what I want to say.
All right, questions? Any other questions?
So we all do physics for schools and stuff. I don't know any geology. So how hard is that to pick up?
No, it's fun. Don't tell a geologist. That's what U of H. My brain is its default setting is math. I literally, when I got my bachelor's in physics as an undergraduate, but I was a minor in geology. And I go, this is Sandra going on. I'm not a very good hiker. Okay. I can hold rocks. I used to make fire with the rock hammer. It's not difficult. It's a challenge, but it's not difficult. I think it's the cultural differences in the science. The sciences culturally are very different. So my favorite professor in my physics department was Chinese. And it's very hardcore. And he used to say things like Stillwater like these. He was like guy that says kung fu, but he was like that. Just the spirit and everything.
Oh, the
Grasshopper guy, cricket. Where did I get cricket?
But we knew what you were talking about.
Anyway, he was like that. So then there's the head of the geology department, and they're kind of it's a very visual science. It's a very visual and tactile science. And so it attracts a different kind of person. The problem was these geology students were failing the physics because the physicists were teaching it two-dimensional. They weren't like putting things in their hands to show them, this is that, this is how, So the physics professor says to the geology professor, they're very culturally, the sciences are very different. So what I struggle with more than anything is that, my fellow geophysicists we'll walk into a room and we'll be together and we'll just, they won't even say a word, we'll just attack the solid. And I'll say, no, you're wrong, because of this, and this. And he'll say, no, you're wrong. And I'm like, prove it. And the geologists will be standing outside the door and they're just like,
so they think you're having a fight.
because they think we're fighting.
But that's the
right. So my biggest problem is not with the geology, it's with the culture. Because how my behavior is interpreted is different. And you can tell I talk to Steve, I don't have any behavior. I'm very open and politically. But it's not hard to pick up. It's a lot of words. It's just a lot of words. Like, but I can't think of right now. It's barely about a person. But it's just a lot of words like imbricated, braided. I have a geologic dictionary, yeah, and the geologic time scale kind of thing.
I was going to ask if there was anything else located in C4 that could be used as for the hydrocarbons, or is it just like
Oh, no, yeah, anything that's low porosity, anything without porosity. Shale can be a source and a seal. Carbonate can be a seal. Anything that's smooth without porosity.
Okay.
So I just talked about, see, that's a great question. See, I love talking to you guys. You're telling me. And it's like 8:07. But I brought you food.
Yeah, usually what we do is, because the questions get a little more time.
Oh, okay. So, but really, I mean it. I'm not going to be mad if you leave, it's okay. But I really, you're in Houston. So, please apply for the IRIS internship. Do you need the website again?
I've got the,
Okay.
they sent me this, I can forward that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh?
I've got a flyer. What I could do is I could post this online.
So please apply, it'll be a game changer for you. Even if you don't feel like you're qualified, apply anyway. Because what they'll do is they'll say, especially if you're a freshman or a sophomore, or, they will tell you how to improve your application for next year. So, and if they tell you how to improve your application for next year, that means that they're looking for you to apply next year. We don't get near enough physics applications. When I go to teach this class, when I go to teach the class in the summer of all the people that get accepted, I'm very lonely for this. Okay? Anything else? You guys feel bonded? You feel like there's been?
Okay,
I think it's gonna skip right over that.
I just want to tell you that, computer engineering, we have, the physical DST course, and we actually teach the phone on the soccer field.
Really? You should apply to Iris also.
Oh, no. I tell my students.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. They don't let me know my phone. I don't know why.
Thank you.
Yeah, please
I will apply.
They would love it if you're in. Okay, please don't let these sandwiches go to waste. That would be very bad.
yeah, and also I have, that sign-in sheet floating around somewhere. Over here. Oh, I don't think anyone's.